is the customer? What is the service? What is the problem that they have? And what is the solution that you're offering? So if I come back here and I say the user is somebody who
lives in Prague.
Who lives in Prague, lives or works,
Yeah.
I should just say is in Prague, right? I don't care what they're here for. Could be medical tourism, is in Prague.
And it has money to spend it on restaurant, barber, massages.
It has money. Let's just say that.
Okay, has money, I'll go with that for fun. And needs some service. But I would ask you to go, what kinds of services?
Well, it can be scalable to every services, but basically, let's stick with barbers, okay?
Barber?
Yeah, let's stick with barbers.
You mean I cut my hair?
Yeah.
Okay. So personal services.
Yeah, personal service.
Barber.
Is the one.
This is actually good, and this is good in stage one. What are the specific services that you think represent the minimum viable product that is going to get my attention? So if you in your mind think that barbers, Dima needs a haircut, so what he would be a good target, maybe he doesn't think he needs a haircut, but it's up to him. So what do you think is going to get your product moving most quickly? And
From the user side, or
of course, right? Because you have two. You have to who gives a shit and who gives a shit. I want to maximize the who gives a shit between this community and this community, because what you're looking to do is to create a love connection. Those are lips. You want a love connection between these people, right? This is Tinder for services. Swipe to the left, I want a haircut. Swipe to the right, I like your barber shop. All right, got a match, right? So what are your services?
Restaurants.
Restaurants?
yes, restaurants, massages, private jacuzzis, car repairs, repair stops.
Everywhere you need to book.
Okay, by the way, so this gets back into, I'm going to steal one of his lines earlier, long and short thinking. Right now it sounds like you're brainstorming to me. And so that's long thinking, that you're kind of out there brainstorming. And then what he said earlier, you'll idea, remember here, ooh, you go back and forth, whole yin-yang thing. So you might come up with a bunch of lists, but I'm going to tell you when you're done, you need to come back to me and say, boom, 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 these three. Because they're the hot ones. Not because you pulled it out of your butt and you think there's some Deming-based data that tells you people are looking for this. Yeah? And because there's a lot of work behind this. You got to go call all the barbers up and say, I want to sign you up for my service. So if you just start rambling off names to me, well, I'm going to come right back at you and say, okay, do you have relationships with all those people? Do you have all the key partners already set up? Because you're going to have to go do that before we're going to get our minimum viable product out the door. Right? So, and by the way, right after I have that conversation with you, you're like, oh, sorry, I'm not done with my homework. And then you're going to run home and you're going to pick, you might pick one, actually, because one would be enough for you to test your idea. You don't want to, as Eric Ries tells us, I don't want to do anything more than I have to do to find out that I got a really dumb idea.
It's like, remember with Iris in the beginning, who is it for? For everyone. There will be like people will be gathering recipes in the end, right? Like booking, like finding things and pinning things online.
I'm just like you. I'm just sitting here talking to you so I get to act like I know what I'm talking about. I do exactly the same thing.
It's going to be for everyone. Everybody would love it.
Exactly. Everyone will love this. We're just going to put it out there. We actually thought it was more like Ebola. It's like not discriminatory. If you're a human, you're going to get a virus. You're going to get the Iris virus. And then you're going to give me your credit card. Yes, ma'am.
So in the beginning...
Can I?
Sorry.
I don't understand the idea, because it's like you can search for the service, like I need your haircut, you do this. Okay, so it limits your search and you have this place, but won't people, like I'm trying to understand if I want to do the haircut, won't people understand it's kind of paid? So the people who are on the list, it's like the companies that paid for being on the list, it doesn't require that they're of very high quality. So,
Right,
for
right.
example, I won't go there just because some application says it's good one.
Okay, so for,
But if it's enough
That's not
choice,
this is really good. So hold that thought. This is not for this part of the
Yeah.
conversation, but of course, by the way, this is where capture tools are very valuable. What he said, have a notebook, always have a notebook, and write that stuff down and say, why? You know, credibility, believability. Am I going to immediately think that this person just paid for this ad, and therefore now that they're, but maybe they don't even know how to cut hair.
But maybe they can put some user feedback.
Yeah, ratings.
Yeah, ratings.
Exactly,
But for
exactly.
example-
So there are ways to mitigate the risk here, but let's. I don't want to. I'm wrote it down right here, and I want to come back to this, but not now. But these are very important things to consider, and this is why either tomorrow or the next day, you guys are going to present your lean canvases, and I'm going to let the others chew on your idea, because I want them to be able to say, I don't get that. I want why, because you want them to say that, because and we get. Look, I'm stealing your time now. We're going to get really good at being defensive, and hopefully, if we go through this exercise enough, you learn how not to be defensive, and you shut up and listen, and you go, okay. Like the first time we pitched this to Dima, and he's like, no, it's not for everybody. Eventually, it could be for everybody, but who's it for? And then you kind of keep going back, and of course we were defensive at first, but we kept inviting him back, and then we okay. And then we started getting better, and we were talking to some other people, and we kind of consistently kept getting that message back, Nancy being one of them, and then we started to modify, and then boom, it's for scientists at the beginning. We went back to our home community, went back to the scientists, and then we went back to an attorney. In fact, I went back exactly to Susan. Susan, an attorney in San Francisco, she's one of our primary customers. And Frank, who runs the Stanford Linear Accelerator in Stanford, obviously, that's the name. So he's a user. And so we have Lisa, who's a vice president at Gap Inc., who does retail. That's a person. And then we profile those people exactly and what they do and how this works up against them. And it's a starting point. It's a bottoms-up strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to address a few of the questions. So when we first thought about this business, I think we just spoke about like the leisure kind of services. So when we said like the repairs of car, I don't think we would like incorporate that in, but more like the leisure kind of services, like the massages and barber, nails, whatever, right?
That would be good. That would be good certainly to further niche and get a starting point for this idea.
So I don't think the repairing of cars will be in that.
They'll just
Brainstorm.
brainstorm.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Okay.
No, that's cool. And by the way, if I ever am critical, I'm just telling you that I'm trying to make you aware of what you're doing when you're doing it, because in a methodology, there's time for brainstorming and there's time for paring it down and editing, and then you step back and you allow yourself to. It's really this kind of back in and out and in and out. And then if you're doing that thoughtfully, by the time you're at the end, you've boiled that thing down to a very fine sauce. Yeah.
And also, as Dima said, that it's more like for the high-end businesses that require booking. I don't think so. Like, not necessarily, because like people are busy, right? So the problem is not that there are too many customers, so you need to book it. But sometimes you just have time on Thursday to get your haircut, so you need that time. So that's the booking.
So I'm not going to tell you what to name your product, but I would generally call it a concierge service. That's just the way you generally described it. If I were sitting in your brainstorming session, I could imagine, boom, I could profile the demographics and psychographics of a particular subset of a market community, the users, and if I profiled them, just as you've described, if the words that you're using are what those would be, which are these professional services, and then you want to even further narrow this to luxury services, And I could almost
But
find
it doesn't
myself.
have to be luxury service. If you go on a date with a girl, it doesn't have to be to the most luxurious restaurant, but you just want to make sure that there is a place for you. Because it would be embarrassing. Let's go on a date and boom, it's full. Let's go to another restaurant.
But no, when I say luxury, okay,
Okay, let's move on.
Anyways,
With
let's-
exercise.
yeah, exactly. But I could edit this back and forth, luxury or high value
You
services.
know, one really cool tool for this, maybe it's a little bit out of the naming task, but it's really cool to create a story about, like, imagine your thing is working, so you have to create a story of a person who's using it. Like, remember, did I show you the Apple Navigator thing? Like, Apple had the concept of iPad in the 80s. They made a video of iPad. They were not there with the technology at that time. The internet wasn't there, but they already were talking about some network and some kind of tablet, interactive tablet. So they made a story and they had the concept. I think it's about, like with your project, it's about imagining working. It's an app on the phone, let's say, I don't know. And who are you? Where are you? What are you doing? And I'm going there and I want to book place in the restaurant. Why? And how is it happening? You know, so you want, and when you're gonna make a story, you would need to think about all the details, like which platform is it in, why you picked up your phone to look for this place in the first place. Like, for example, what would be the other alternative would be calling up a restaurant which you know, or finding a Foursquare,
Can I tell you how I came to this?
Mm.
Okay, so I was looking at this restaurant and I told them, yeah, I want a table for two at 8 p.m. And she said like, no, we don't have space at 8 p.m. So 8:30? No, we don't have. 9? No, 9:30? Okay, so I, like, until we got there, she was like, yeah, we have place at 10:30. Okay, and I told her, okay, I want the table at near the buffet. And she said, yeah, we don't have a table near the buffet, but we have a table next to the buffet, if you know what I mean. It's like, what? No, I don't want to know what you mean. And then we were going back and forth. And it was the phone call took me like 15 minutes just to book a stupid table. And this would kind of limit it.
But there is the idea that everything is in one place. Like, you don't have to go to different apps for different services. You have all the services in one app.
Or I was booking barber and I was like, yeah, I want John. Like, you mean John with long hair or John with short hair? I was like, what the fuck? I don't know. I thought we only have one John there. So, like, this could kind of limit it somehow. And I would know, like, at what time John has time for me and what not.
Okay, so like everything is at one place. That's the first feature. Another feature is that you have, for instance, in the restaurant you have the plan there, so it's really kind of clear what table is available and stuff. And the third thing is you can pick the person that's gonna do the service for you. Right?
Yeah, if it's like the service that's like.
Just, I read a really cool article recently about people liking those, like, profile of people who like to use Uber, who like to use apps to buy tickets for the cinema, who like to, I don't know, use apps for the services. And usually these people who are like sick of communication over the phone, or like they don't like actually communicating, like orally, right? They don't want to be calling and trying to figure out how things work, and so they want just to click a few buttons and it's done. And I think that's probably important to also, if it's true, then it's important to think this way about the user, that this person probably is into, like, maybe more introvert about doing things.
But for example, I don't know, like cinema, you can't call to the cinema nowadays. Or can you? You have to do it over the internet. Yeah, I mean, like, you have to do it over the app or over the internet. You cannot call
I
there.
don't know.
You can.
Are you getting what you need to go?
Yeah, no, I think because there will be a bunch of things which would require a lot of time to narrow down.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing about narrowing down these things is that you have much more clear idea. Because, you know, when you said pit stop for booking management, why not? Like, it could be a good word, could be a good name for a company, and I cannot say why it will not work. But if you try to think of more specifically about who you're doing it for, you might find out that these people have specific problems with this name. You know, like
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say the idea behind the pit stop is like in Formula One, you go to pit stop and you get everything you need. This was the idea behind the app.
Yeah,
Everything
right.
at one place.
That is your unique selling proposition. One stop.
Yeah.
One simple stop
To do,
Anything.
to book anything
Like
how you want it at the time you need it.
like majority of services that, for example, a student in Prague would use.
whoever the user community
Yeah,
is
yeah.
would be able to do that after you profile them. So is that for the who?
For
Is that where
who
we
is-
would fill that out more?
Yeah.
For the
For-
user?
User is people in Prague with free time and money.
Like money doesn't have to be much money.
Yeah, I think you're going to struggle with something so generic.
I think like I also have a sense that here we want people who actually don't have time, who book things at a specific time because they have just this slot for it.
Okay, so people with limited amount of time.
You're busy?
Or with-
Yeah, I would think you want to translate that into a particular type of person who's got limited time. Might be an attribute of that person, but you probably might find
People who doesn't
business professionals.
who doesn't
yeah.
want to waste time.
And you know we can make like a couple of briefs like this, a couple of positionings.
Or at least capture it here, right? The
Yeah.
First,
Let's say
okay.
busy people who don't want to waste time, right?
Is it people who don't want to waste time? Yeah. I like that.
So that's another good point for the pit stop because it's fast, right?
Yeah.
And
Or maybe you can also add like tourists, because if you are in Prague for the first time, you will have the app and you will know like what is near to you, because you don't know what services you can find in Prague. Like also the tourists.
Let's keep it simple for a second.
Oh, can you close? Oh, that's for me. Sorry.
Yeah.
This part. Where Prague? What else you got?
Why?
yeah, why would they would use it? Why would they not call?
Because
Simplicity.
it's simplifying and
Centralized.
centralized. It's centralized, simple.
Well, why is the motivator? What's the problem?
But the problem is the complicated booking.
Decentralized, complicated booking.
So it's more like when because the decentralized, complicated booking, right? That's what we're dealing with. That's the time now.
I
It
think
doesn't have to
the,
be like this, but
the why is that
it's decentralized.
that's the motivator, and this is the problem. So it is. I have disparate booking systems for each service provider.
Yeah.
That was maybe I'm restating. Hopefully, I'm restating what you said
Yeah, you
earlier.
are. You are.
And then and the other motivator is maybe related to that. It's
Poor time
complicated.
management.
Poor time management.
Yeah, is a problem.
Yeah, that's the person's problem, is that they don't have the time to, they have limited time to deal with this activity. Not the, the activity of coordinating access to the service.
So they just, I mean, let's simplify it and say because they want just a simpler booking. They believe it's possible. And when could be when everybody is busy, when everybody doesn't have time, when everybody.
Isn't it something 7/24?
What?
24/7, like anytime you
What is it?
can.
When it's more like a current
Like 1K?
current trend, you know, because or current situation in the world. We're doing
Like
it now.
leisure time?
Hmm?
No, in the time when
I don't understand.
Like
when
era.
Yeah, it's not like when, like 6 o'clock tonight. It's when, like, it's acknowledging the transition of things that are going on. For example, correct me if I'm wrong. So now people have smartphones, and most service providers have some automated booking system within their establishment, but there's not a coordinated, standardized system to bring it all together in one simple interface for the customers. Yeah. Is this the era kind of thing? This is the timing. By the way, if you talk to VCs or angels in Silicon Valley, they'll say the number one attribute, this is a little sidebar but related, number one attribute they look for to invest in, it's not the team, it's not the idea, it's timing. This was actually new to me that I've learned over the last 2 years playing with them. Timing, this when is critical to investors, because if you have a great idea, but the other critical success factors for that idea actually to come to fruition and be a viable business, then it's not. Like if you had this idea even 10 years ago, you'd be shit out of luck because most businesses in Prague hadn't automated their internal reservation systems themselves. Mm-hmm. And then therefore you couldn't, first you'd have to sell them a package, a reservation package for their own business, and then you'd have to integrate that with a online system.
In the era when everything is socialized and technology is everywhere.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I think socialized.
Socialized, right? Crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
If you think about reviews.
When you only need to provide a platform and society provides the rest.
Like the data is there, but
Another big word, platform. Very valuable. This is the era of platforms. That's a big word, actually.
Socialized, the era of platform and technology, or technology of platforms.
What would be
Platforms, something as simple as booking a table is still very complicated and
requires more steps.
riddled with errors.
like simple?
Simple booking is still too complicated.
This goes back to this why. This is very good.
And how? By providing a platform for booking, right?
Yeah.
Providing platform for booking.
That's the solution. Okay, good job. So look at the slides tonight for your homework. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Slides tonight for the homework.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the individual activity.
Whew. So I guess that's like that's this. That's positioning. Do you have any competition?
Yelp.
Yelp?
Yeah. In its own way. It's like
Yelp does booking?
No, it doesn't. That's the thing. But it has a platform that rates the restaurants. Here in Czech Republic, Restu.
Can you compare?
But it's only about restaurants and bars.
Yes, it's only about restaurants, though. It's still
Yeah,
big.
it's
And there is
very
separate
niche.
And Reservio.
Okay, so in the how, you would actually list out, this isn't for him, this is for you and your lean canvas. You would list out exactly what you're doing. So if you're going to say reviews is one of the elements of your solution, you'd want to make sure you listed that. Because then that would also point to your competition. And that's where you would say, within unfair advantage, you might describe who the competition is. That they might provide pieces to the puzzle, but only you, as a unique seller prop, have one-stop shopping. I think that's a good example too. This might be hard for you to, even as we're going through this exercise, transfer this to your own project and idea, but maybe this is somewhat helpful. But all this stuff continues to be almost a languaging problem because we have different words for the same thing. But if I can sit up here and translate, we're always talking about the same thing. And I always want to kind of come back here and use this as the brief of your idea that informs guys like this so that they can do more depth and analysis and consulting and assistance. But it is, and by the way, I know it feels like a lot of pressure on time because it is. You have to think, we spent 3 or 4 months together. We did. He'd come over to our flat like every day. And we'd sit around and just hash through this over and over and over again. So, I mean, you got to know that we're doing something that takes a long time. Now, maybe it took us longer than it could have or should have, but it just was necessary. It is what it is. It just took us that until we got where we thought we needed to go. But I'm just trying to walk us through at least the top side of this thing, because it's something that you can't, when you do get into your own business, real business, you have to spend the time here. Keep going.
I think it's like we basically covered in some way positioning and competition, and in competition I think you also should be considering some services which not directly, like for example they can't book things there, but they could look up a number and call, and it's also a competition.
That's Yelp.
Or Foursquare, or
Or Foursquare, or what's the other thing? I know it's Yelp, Foursquare, and
Advisor.
no, it's Day something or whatever.
but I would even consider like Google Maps, or like even Google, where someone who looks for booking can find the phone number and call and not use your app.
Yeah, you can find nearby. and everything.
That's the problem though, because you have to go to Google and find a number, and then call them. It's just much easier if it's in one app, you know.
No, it is,
Yeah.
but I guess you should just consider this. That's
Yeah.
another like how people can
Okay.
get away from you, from your company.
This one's a little tricky, but absolutely critical. It's called a barrier to entry, yeah, and then a barrier to exit. We actually call it not a barrier to exit. We call it lock-in. What's the lock-in technology, or what is the lock-in in the process, so that you can't get away?
You can book specifically what you need, like table by the window, table by the aquarium if you're on the day.
So this would be a critical element of the unique selling proposition that would keep your relationship. This is back to this one actually. Where's relationship?
The unique point will be that we will have more data than other booking systems. We'll have the data, how the tables are set in the restaurants, what is the
Okay.
just more data from each of the provider.
That
There's
you know that
fees, right?
at 8 it's booked,
Okay,
but
right.
at 10 it's not booked.
So we can identify what is a unique selling proposition and make sure that you have in your solution the how part. Because I would push you into that. And there's a lot that you have to do to actually deliver that as a service. There's a lot of activity and work on the restaurant's part to provide you that specific detailed information. Do they move their tables around? They have a 4-top and a 2-top, but then they make it a 6-top. So does that change your app strategy for what's available? How does the app reflect a dynamic floor plan? Because most restaurants have a pretty dynamic floor plan so that they can handle different communities of individuals. So you have to consider what are the attributes of your key partners.
This is also like this is somehow like a lead in into the first question I have here about I think you should like really think from the beginning. It really relates to this. Like, do you want to have, let's say, one app just for restaurants, and then another app just for, I don't know, let's say recreational, like massages and leisure things, or you want to have all in one app?
All in one app.
Like
Or
maybe
you can start with one and then
Well, that's the business strategy, but this is the vision.
The idea was the pit stop to have everything in one place. So we only want one app to simplify.
And you can then filter out in that app. So you can put restaurants and the app would filter out only the restaurants or barbers. So there's no point in doing two
So you,
applications.
as you, again, I don't know if you're brainstorming now or if you're communicating something you've already defined and described as your unique selling proposition, but you have to be capturing these things and determining, you know, is this, again, part of my MVP? Because for the sake of this class, I want you focusing on MVP. I don't want you want to have this vision of Iris for everybody, but I want you to be communicating, this is Iris for Nancy. Yeah? And then explain to me exactly how you're going to knock Nancy out. And then you can, but you don't get to go to the second customer until you knock the first customer down. I mean, that's this whole concept, right? Because if you can't knock their first customer down and show me through actually getting that customer and getting their credit card, well, then you don't get a second customer. Because two things, you're only going to spend a little bit of time failing getting the first customer, and you're going to feel a lot better about that than failing after developing a system for 100 customers or 1,000 customers. Do you get it? That's the whole concept here. So that's why I keep, and we will keep forcing you to be specific. Now, you could say, these are the first 3 USPs for my MVP, and then you could say, but remember I gave you 2 colored stickies? Maybe the yellow sticky is for MVP round 1, and then the pink sticky is, but then we, later we want to capture these things. This is really got to be a working document that continues to evolve, and every time you go to the marketplace and test something out, then you take the sticky off and you modify it and you keep going. And everything has to, it's all related. Keep going on.
I think we can try to take this, because we have enough of basic information that we can try to brainstorm a name. And, well, you have a name already, and I don't see a problem with it yet. We can try to imagine there is no name and to come up with some name, just for the sake of exercise.
Well, I can come up with more problem with the name. It's masculine. Like girls probably don't even really know what pit stop is.
Would girls care? I would ask the girls.
Yeah.
It's
You have a problem
during the
with pit stop?
racing. It's during the racing when the car stops to change.
Yeah, it's called a pit stop. Yeah.
Yeah, but how many girls knows that? So
Be, okay, but I would say, that's good that you might have a feeling about that, but I would say be careful about your feelings. Go ask them.
yeah,
Do you have a problem with pit stop?
I don't have a problem with that, but
Yeah.
I don't.
But it has no meaning.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me it doesn't have meaning.
I think it's cool, it could be actually, because there's basically 2 big categories of names. One is, well, there's much more categories, but it's the 2 big ones. One is descriptive, and one is invented. So, invented, it could be what would be let's say Uber is invented. It doesn't mean anything in English, right?
Is it?
Hmm?
No, yeah, you're right. It doesn't mean.
So, it's like a container which you can fill in with any meaning. And pit stop could be for somebody, it could be descriptive, and for somebody it could be just some word, which would, for example, if somebody doesn't know what pit stop is, they would just try to remember it.
like catchy name.
So it doesn't have to actually to mean something.
But I think this one is descriptive, at least for
all the guys.
for
And I think
most of the guys.
Descriptive could be, there is a few categories for descriptive names. It could be really literal. For example, it would be something like a booking manager plus new booking manager, just really saying what it is.
Like bookings.
Or bookings, something
Yeah, I mean, like this is already.
or something bookings.
Yes.
And this is probably the most popular example of names. And the catch here is that there's so many companies which would have word booking in them that they will be just lost in the list of the other companies called booking something. And another thing is that probably like your name of the company, your company will never appear anywhere without context. Like there will be no situation when the name of the company will show up without you knowing what it is about, or without any kind of additional information what the company stands for.
Unless you establish and define yourself by first mover advantage and you get a critical mass of the marketplace. I mean, bookings.com, that's a pretty beautiful place to go.
If you were first,
You guys know bookings.com?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Everybody does. It's the number one. I mean, you can go other places. You can go TripAdvisor, you can go Expedia, you can go...
Momundo. Momundo.
You can go this one. I actually don't know that one. I mean, you can go all over the place, but bookings.com, just because of the name, boom. And
Yeah.
United States, you want a lawyer? Lawyers.com. Big surprise, right? Boom, number one, because it just is. Boom, it's just right there.
So this name must be for the users, not customers, right?
both kind of.
It depends on what your route to market strategy is. My channel, how do I want to get to that client? And then how am I messaging to get to that client? Now you have two clients, you have a customer and a user, so, but maybe you want to solve two problems with the same name, but probably more valuable is the user, because that's going to be the brand or the name that's out there that's going to attract and have to create some brand feeling, then that would be very critical that you consider that. Of course, I think maybe in terms of, it would be secondary in terms of the customer, the shops that would be paying you. They would just want to see that if they were to project that name into the user community, it would have kind of a positive brand image.
That's right. And I think it could be descriptive about what you do, like bookings.com. You could be descriptive in the way how you do it. You could do like, you could say easy bookings.com, or like easy table, or easy flight, or whatever. Like simple.
Like, stop wasting time.
Yeah.
It's not simple, but
Yeah, but that is.
yeah, I mean like.
Well, there's this website, Getting Things Done, right? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that great? Getting Things Done. Is anyone confused about what this site is about? I mean, so it is kind of long, although the guy has branded it GTD also. The guy who wrote it, Dave, or whatever his name is, Getting Things Done, GTD. So you actually start to hear this now in this community of experts. They'll say GTD, much like you guys would type LOL, right? They don't say laugh out loud. It'd be kind of silly if you did. And if you're in this business, you wouldn't say Getting Things Done. You just say GTD. Kind of geeks, right? It's just within that community. This is what they say. Personal productivity experts. The other one I use as an example, I think Iris, our brand, and the jury's out on Iris. I like it, but what the hell is that? Right? Is a name.
It's invented, right?
Yeah, it's a mental one.
It's an evolution of a real word. Iris is the mythological character who is the communicator between the gods and the mortals, messenger god. And actually, the scientists named this for us. It actually is such that the product is kind of this messenger. Mortals, you're a mortal, you're the user. And the gods, the data gods, the application gods, the whatever is out there, and it's kind of helping communicate the message. This was behind the name, but
just because you understand this name doesn't mean like
exactly. Believe me,
I never heard about Iris.
I think this is the most beautiful name in the world. But as we've had many conversations about, it's like, I don't know if it's going to survive. We're going to start it, and we've thought a lot about it, but I don't know.
I think it's about, there's a few things. There's consistency. If the name will not change, then it will just with some time we get more and more known, get more and more exposure. Another thing is it's pretty ambiguous, like it doesn't mean anything specific for a person, so it could be like you can position it in different ways with different flavors, right? Could be like premium product, could be like simple thing, or
Right. We think actually, this is what Dima helped us come up with. So that is the symbol,
Logo.
logo, and for the product. and what will happen is that this picture will assume all of your experiences. Yeah. So like you said, I think to most people it'll just be a made up name. It'll just be blah blah blah. And then as you have experiences with the product over time, it will develop a brand, right? And this is what we will try to influence as much as we can, what your experiences are and what you feel about it. But I can't tell you what to feel about it. You will tell us what you feel about it. And this is if you got your computer open, Google keystone.com and just look at the slide and look at that. What did you it's called what would you call this thing?
the icon or symbol.
Yeah, but you called it when the little monks were sitting around the
A mandala.
yeah, mandala. So one of the ideas was that we can have this show up all over the place. Like we can have one of the ideas is having we're going to commission some monks to sit around and do, you know how they do with a little sand and they create a mandala? You know this? Monks, you see House of Cards? It's just like artwork with sand, and then the whole idea is that when you're done, then you blow it away. It's some Buddhist kind of thing, whatever. But we're going to actually and go to students and have them maybe mark some things. So that there's a strategy behind this logo that we want to start to
But people have to explain the strategy because it seems too complicated for me, for example.
It's really, the idea is just how to start its placement, product placement and awareness. That's as we're at the beginning of trying to get our brand identity out, that we can find different places in the.
So, like this picture will appear at certain locations, or
we're gonna have
TV shows.
Yeah, we'll just have it show up at different places that are kind of like product placement, simply of where we think we can get increased awareness of it. That's really kind of quite divergent from the.
I think it's really about creating this anchor, right, that everybody recognizes and fills in with their own meaning.
Yeah.
We really try, like we can say whatever, like all kind of statements, what it is and how to position it, but it's really about what people will fill it in with, like by using the product or by seeing the advertisement, or it really becomes just some kind of something, like symbol which you fill with something. Like if you see this for the first time, you would have no idea what does it mean. But now seeing all the martial art movies and all the other things, you have a bunch of associations with this. So we're just basically trying to create another symbol, which we will fill in with meanings.
Okay.
We will try to message out what we want it to be, and this is the part that it's hard to kind of understand, I guess, or conceptualize. But the market will tell us what does it mean to them.
There's a possibility they will call you a fork in 10 years.
Yeah,
Could be.
Yeah.
But it's like with Apple, I mean, like the Apple company, it makes no sense in the very beginning. And then after people started to think about the like three main apples of the world, like Apple with Adam and Eva, Apple with Newton, like Apple which destroyed Troy Empire, and this like the fourth Apple which changed the world. So I think like it doesn't really matter, I ask you, it doesn't really matter which point you put there, but it's like what customers will think after.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that.
And the reason with Apple, they made their name, they appeared at the time when there was IBM, there was all kind of bunch of names and brands which sounded really technological, and there would be most of them were abbreviations of something like what is it, International Business Machines.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was so technical, and they wanted to make something more human. technology for people. So we made Apple, which was at that time really weird looking name and weird looking logo for a computer company. Nobody
No,
was,
we used to sell against them and say that, you know, yeah, those kids, that's a product for kids. No, really, that was our sales strategy at the time, and I mean, it worked for a long time, and then it didn't.
so there they had the idea, they took the risk and they tried to zag. They really tried to be different from others, which paid off in the long term.
So you got through this then for these guys. Could you take so you guys, well, I'm going to post this exercise, and I want you to do that. Maybe not tonight right away, but I'm just going to add this as an activity to this, to the lean canvas, and then ask that you guys develop your canvas. And I haven't decided. I have to go back and think about when I'm going to ask you to present it, but possibly tomorrow. But we might run out of time tomorrow also. So if not tomorrow, then on Wednesday.
Tomorrow is too fast.
Yes.
We need to
I
think
thought
So
about
to
it.
present lean,
Yes.
Yeah.
really?
I mean, we
Lean
have
included
3 hours
this.
in evening. And
No. But you've already done lean.
But we have to like
Everything
somehow
along.
maybe-
Redo it. We have to redo it.
Do you? So you have a new feeling about?
Yeah.
Okay. So
But I feel
Wednesday would be
heavy.
Maybe
fair.
upgrade after we.
Just upgrade, not redo everything.
Of course, upgrade. But even upgrade Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Okay. No. I don't want to push you too hard. So Wednesday. Is Wednesday fair? You're okay with Wednesday?
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay, so we won't do it by tomorrow, by Wednesday. Asking you to do this is fair for Wednesday also?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's okay.
We can do Wednesday, but I think tomorrow is good enough.
That's okay. I'm
Because
not
we have
gonna.
ours done already, so I don't
Okay,
care.
cool, good for you. So Wednesday also. Wednesday also. Finito? All right. Well, thank you very much. Okay, let me just show you the slide then for the next discussion. Thanks a lot, Dima. Really appreciate your time.
Welcome.
And teaching us about this what feels ambiguous, but is actually a very pragmatic, methodological process to get there.
Are you the only designer for the iris?
For identity, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a huge learning experience for
Well,
us.
actually, I took over after another designer, but I think at that time there was no time and really importance for all the strategic thing. So some logos were created, and then once we wanted to get into the messaging, we had to redesign it and make it much more streamlined.